What if the universe has been speaking to you your entire life and you've just been looking in the wrong place? There's a reason some people seem to receive signs everywhere they go, while others feel like they're constantly asking the universe for guidance and hearing nothing back. It's not because the universe is speaking to some people more than others. It's because the universe speaks a different language to each of us. And that language is hidden in your Jupiter house placement. Because Jupiter isn't just the planet of luck, abundance, and growth, it also reveals how your soul receives wisdom, how life tries to get your attention, and where the universe is constantly trying to lead you toward expansion. So, in this video, we're going to explore the language your soul naturally understands, why you keep missing the signs, how guidance actually shows up for you, and how to strengthen your connection to the messages the universe is already sending. So, grab your birth chart, find the house or houses where your Jupiter sits, and let's dive in.
If you have Jupiter in the first house, the universe speaks to you through experience, not through endless planning, not through waiting until you're ready, and not through having every answer first. Jupiter in the first house is one of the placements that learns by living. Your soul understands movement, action, exploration, and personal experience. You were never designed to stand on the sidelines of your own life, waiting for certainty to arrive. In fact, many of your biggest breakthroughs happen after you've already taken the first step. This placement often receives guidance through momentum. You decide to try something, you say yes to an opportunity, you take a risk, you follow a curiosity. And suddenly, the next piece of the path reveals itself because your soul learns through direct engagement with life. So you may notice that when you're stuck, overthinking, or waiting for perfect clarity, everything feels foggy. But the moment you start moving, doors begin opening, people appear, ideas arrive, opportunities emerge. This is because the universe communicates with Jupiter in the first house through a simple message: go. Because this placement is meant to discover itself through experience rather than preparation. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the first house is that you are often the sign. So while other placements receive guidance externally, your guidance frequently arrives through your own instincts, desires, excitement, and willingness to take action. The language your soul understands is personal expansion through lived experience. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the first house is believing you need more certainty before you begin. And that's because this placement receives guidance while moving, not before. But that can feel uncomfortable because the mind wants guarantees, instructions, proof, certainty, and a fully mapped out plan. Meanwhile, the universe is offering the first step. And for Jupiter in the first house, the first step is often the sign. So many people with this placement spend years waiting for confidence, readiness, permission, or absolute clarity before taking action. But confidence is the result of movement, not the prerequisite for it. Another common block is giving away your authority. Because Jupiter naturally seeks wisdom, you may sometimes assume someone else knows better. Someone else has the answer. Someone else can tell you what path to take. Meanwhile, your soul is trying to develop trust in itself. This placement is here to learn. Your experience is the teacher. Not every answer needs to come from outside of you. Sometimes the universe is waiting for you to trust yourself enough to begin. The universe tends to guide you through desire, action, and expansion. So you may notice that guidance often appears as sudden excitement, unexpected confidence, a strong urge to try something, curiosity about a new direction, feeling energized by a possibility, or a desire to step outside your comfort zone. So for you, guidance often looks like aliveness. The things that expand your spirit contain the clues. So you may suddenly feel called to travel somewhere, start a project, launch an idea, take a class, move somewhere new, pursue a dream, or try something you've never done before. And while it may not make perfect sense initially, that path reveals itself as you move. The universe may also guide you through opportunities that require courage, experiences that build confidence, moments that challenge your limitations, people who encourage your growth, and situations that force you to trust yourself more deeply. One of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the first house is enthusiasm. Many people dismiss excitement as random emotion, but for you, excitement is often directional. Not every exciting thing is your path, but your path rarely feels completely dead inside. The universe is going to guide you through what makes you feel more alive. Jupiter in the first house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming willing to move before everything is figured out. Your soul was not designed to receive all the answers up front. It was designed to discover them along the way. The first step to achieving this is to trust the first step. You don't need the entire roadmap. You just need the next step. So ask yourself, what is one action I already know I need to take? Then take it. Next is to follow what makes you feel alive. Your energy is one of your strongest compasses. So pay attention to excitement, curiosity, enthusiasm, and genuine interest. These emotions contain guidance. Next is to stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is often created through action. So notice where you are delaying growth because you're waiting for confidence that can only be built through experience. Next is to become the explorer. This placement thrives when it remains open to life. So try something new, go somewhere new, expose yourself to new experiences. The universe is going to reveal opportunities to you through exploration. And finally, trust yourself more. One of the deepest lessons of this placement is self trust. So before asking everyone else what you should do, pause and ask, what do I already know? Because your soul knows more than you give it credit for. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in the first house is, I trust myself to move forward even when I cannot see the entire path. The universe guides me through experience, expansion, and the courage to take the next step. If I just exposed a pattern you've been in, say it out loud in the comments and let me know. And if this gave you clarity, be sure to support this video with a like, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe to stay in the flow. And if you keep procrastinating every time it's time to fully put yourself out there, there's usually something deeper underneath it. My new The Visibility Reset helps you to work through the emotional fear of being seen through powerful audio guidance, visibility activations, and healing exercises designed to help you finally step into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in the second house, the universe speaks to you through value, not just money, not just possessions, but value. What do you value? What do you tolerate? What do you invest your time into? And what you believe you're worthy of receiving. Jupiter in the second house is one of the placements that often receives guidance through self worth. Your soul is constantly being shown where you are underestimating yourself, undervaluing yourself, or settling for less than what you're capable of receiving. Because at its core, the second house isn't really about money. Money is simply one reflection of value. The deeper question is, what do you believe you're worth? And throughout your life, the universe tends to communicate through situations that reveal the answer. So you may notice that guidance arrives when you realize you've been settling, when you recognize your talents more clearly, when you finally charge what you're worth, when you stop accepting crumbs, when you begin honoring your gifts, or when you decide you're no longer available for less. So for this placement, guidance often feels like expansion of self worth, a moment when you suddenly realize, I deserve more than this. I'm more capable than I've been giving myself credit for. I've been playing smaller than I need to. My gifts have value because your soul understands the language of worthiness. So the universe is often guiding you by showing you where more is available. And this is not because it wants you to become more materialistic. This is because it wants you to recognize your value. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the second house is many of your signs arrive through opportunities to receive. The question is whether you believe you're allowed to. The biggest challenge for Jupiter in the second house is believing you have to earn everything through struggle. This placement often receives guidance through abundance. But many with this placement have been conditioned to distrust ease. So you may assume if it's easy, it isn't valuable. If it's aligned, it must be too good to be true. If it's available, I probably don't deserve it. If I receive more, I'll somehow lose it. So when the universe presents an opportunity, you may immediately look for reasons it won't work. So instead of asking, what if this is meant for me? You ask, what's the catch? Another common block is attaching worth to productivity. Many with Jupiter in the second house unconsciously believe you must constantly prove yourself, that you must work harder than everyone else, that you must earn rest, that you must earn abundance, and that you must earn worthiness. Meanwhile, the universe is trying to teach you something completely different, that worth is not created, it's recognized. And the more you question your value, the easier it becomes to overlook opportunities that are trying to reflect it back to you. Because often the sign isn't work harder, the sign is receive more. The universe often guides you through opportunities that increase your sense of value. So you may notice that guidance appears as unexpected financial opportunities, people recognizing your gifts, offers that reflect your worth, moments where you realize you've been undercharging, situations that challenge your relationship with receiving, or experiences that help you trust your talents more deeply. So for you, guidance looks like expansion through receiving. So you may suddenly feel called to invest in yourself, develop a talent, raise your standards, create a new source of income, ask for more, negotiate differently, or stop settling for less than you deserve. And what's interesting is that these moments aren't always comfortable because growth for this placement often requires confronting scarcity. So the universe may repeatedly place you in situations that reveal where you don't trust abundance, where you're afraid to receive, where you undervalue yourself, or where you're operating from lack instead of possibility. You may also notice recurring themes around possessions, stability, talents, money, resources, and your relationship with security. And this is because the universe often uses tangible experiences to teach you invisible lessons about value. So the message isn't always about money, the message is often about worth. Jupiter in the second house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming more available to receiving. So your soul doesn't just grow through effort, it also grows through allowing. The first step to achieving this is to pay attention to what feels undervalued. Your signs often live in the places where you are settling. So ask yourself, where am I accepting less than what I know I'm worth? Next is to let yourself receive. Receiving can be deeply uncomfortable when you're used to earning everything through struggle. So practice accepting support, compliments, opportunities, and abundance without immediately trying to justify it. Next is to invest in what expands your value. Jupiter grows through expansion. So pay attention to the investments that help you become more of who you already are. And this is not because you're lacking, but because you are growing. Next is to follow opportunities that increase self trust. Many of your signs are going to arrive disguised as opportunities. So notice what opportunities make you feel more capable, more valuable, more confident, and more aligned with your gifts. And finally, strengthen your relationship with worthiness. The clearer your sense of value becomes, the easier it is to recognize guidance. So every time you catch yourself questioning your worth, ask, what if I'm already worthy? Because many of your gifts begin the moment you stop arguing with your own value. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in the second house is, I am worthy of receiving the abundance, opportunities, and support meant for me. The universe guides me by expanding my sense of value, self worth, and trust in what I have to offer. Where did your perspective shift while listening to this? Let's chat about it in the comments. And if this helped you understand yourself on a deeper level, be sure to like this video, pass it on to someone who needs it, hype this video, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if being visible feels emotionally heavier than it should, my new The Visibility Reset is here to help you understand why. This experience combines emotional reset audio guidance with visibility activations to help you release fear, stop shrinking yourself, and feel safer being fully seen, heard, and expressed. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in the third house, the universe speaks to you through curiosity, not certainty, not mastery, not having all the answers, curiosity. Jupiter in the third house is one of the placements that receives guidance through questions. Your soul was never designed to know everything before moving forward. It was designed to discover, to explore, to wonder, to stay open long enough for life to reveal something unexpected. Because at its core, the third house is the house of perception. It governs how you gather information, make connections, observe patterns, and interact with the world immediately around you. And what makes this placement so unique is that your guidance often arrives through seemingly ordinary moments, such as a random conversation, a sentence in a book, a podcast you almost didn't click on, a comment someone casually makes, or a question that suddenly changes how you see everything. So you may notice that throughout your life, your biggest breakthroughs often begin with, that's interesting, because your soul understands the language of discovery. The universe often guides you by placing breadcrumbs in your path. Small clues, small insights, small moments of awareness that eventually lead to something much bigger. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the third house is that your guidance rarely arrives all at once. It arrives one piece at a time, one conversation, one idea, one realization, one connection, until eventually you look back and realize the universe was building the answer the entire time. The language your soul understands is curiosity, because curiosity keeps you moving toward what your soul is trying to learn. The biggest challenge for Jupiter in the third house is overlooking the ordinary. This placement often expects guidance to arrive through something dramatic, like a major breakthrough, a life changing realization, or a huge spiritual experience. Meanwhile, the universe is trying to communicate through repeating ideas, random encounters, and subtle shifts in perspective. But because the message arrives looking so ordinary, it's easy to dismiss. Another common block is information overload. Jupiter naturally expands whatever it touches. And in the third house, that can create a tendency to constantly seek more information, more books, more podcasts, more research, more opinions, more answers. So the challenge becomes consuming instead of integrating. Many with this placement spend so much time gathering that they don't stop long enough to recognize which pieces actually matter. And sometimes the sign isn't hidden, it's simply being buried underneath too much noise. Another block is assuming guidance has to feel serious. But Jupiter in the third house receives guidance through playfulness, exploration, or just through finding what captures your attention, which means some of your biggest signs may initially feel insignificant until they change your life. The universe tends to guide you through patterns. So you may notice hearing the same message repeatedly, multiple people mentioning the same topic, stumbling across the same idea over and over, seeing the same symbol in different places, or becoming unexpectedly fascinated by something you know very little about. So for you, guidance often looks like a trail of breadcrumbs. One clue leads to another. One idea leads to another. One question opens a new door. And before you realize it, you're somewhere entirely new. So you may suddenly feel pulled toward a book, a skill, a conversation, a subject, a hobby, or a perspective you've never explored before. And that fascination contains the message. The universe may also guide you through learning, storytelling, writing, journaling, teaching, speaking, social media, local experiences, and everyday interactions. One of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the third is repetition. When the same theme keeps appearing through multiple sources, pay attention because the universe is often highlighting something your soul needs to understand. Because your guidance rarely arrives through one giant revelation. It usually arrives through connected pieces that eventually form a larger picture. Jupiter in the third house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming more intentional about paying attention. Your soul is constantly receiving information. The question is whether you're recognizing what matters. The first step to achieving this is to follow your curiosity. Curiosity is one of your strongest spiritual tools. So ask yourself, what am I naturally drawn to learn more about right now? Then follow it without needing to justify it. Next is to pay attention to repetition. The universe loves repeating itself with this placement. So keep track of recurring messages, recurring symbols, recurring topics, recurring questions, and recurring conversations. The repetition is where the guidance lives. Next is to create space to integrate. Not every answer requires more information. Sometimes it requires reflection. So, after reading, learning, or consuming content, ask, what actually stood out to me? Focus on what resonated instead of immediately moving to the next thing. Next is to let small moments matter. Some of your biggest breakthroughs begin with ordinary experiences. So treat everyday interactions as potential messengers rather than background noise, because your signs are often going to arrive disguised as something small. And finally, write things down. Your soul processes through connection and understanding. So keep a journal of questions, observations, synchronicities, ideas, and moments that catch your attention. Because often the larger message only becomes visible when you look back at the pattern. Because your guidance isn't usually one giant lightning bolt, it's a conversation unfolding over time. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in the third house is, I trust the guidance hidden within my curiosity. The universe speaks to me through ideas, conversations, patterns, and the connections that expand my understanding of life. What did this help you understand about yourself for the first time? Be sure to drop it in the comments below. And if you're on this journey with me, be sure to like this video, send it to your people who need it, hype this video, and subscribe so we stay tapped in together. And if you've been hiding behind perfectionism, overthinking, staying prepared, or waiting until you feel more confident first, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you finally feel safe enough to be fully seen. All of my offers are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in your fourth house, the universe speaks to you through feelings, not fleeting emotions, not mood swings, but deeper feelings. The kind that live underneath logic, underneath explanations, and underneath what other people think you should do. Jupiter in the fourth house is one of the placements that often receives guidance through emotional resonance. Your soul has an internal compass, and when you are aligned, it becomes incredibly accurate. So you may have noticed that throughout your life, there are certain people, places, opportunities, and decisions that simply feel right, even when you can't fully explain why. And there are others that look perfect on paper, but something inside you keeps saying no. This is because your guidance system is rooted in emotional truth. The fourth house is the deepest part of your chart. So it governs your foundation, your inner world, your emotional security, your roots, and the private self that exists beneath all external expectations. And what makes this placement unique is that your soul knows before your mind does. So you may walk into a room and immediately feel comfortable, uneasy, inspired, safe, connected, or disconnected without any logical explanation. And this is because your soul understands the language of inner knowing. So the universe is often guiding you through what feels like home, not necessarily a physical house, but a feeling of peace, of belonging, of emotional alignment. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the fourth is that your guidance rarely shouts, it settles, because the language your soul understands is emotional truth. Because what is truly meant for you often creates a feeling of inner expansion before it creates external results. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the fourth house is overriding your feelings with logic. This placement often knows the answer before the mind catches up. But because the answer doesn't always appear rational, it's easy to dismiss. So you might tell yourself, I'm being too emotional. I need more proof. I should be more practical. This doesn't make sense. Or everyone else thinks I should do something different. So instead of listening to your inner compass, you start negotiating with it. And the further you move away from your emotional truth, the harder it becomes to hear guidance clearly. Another common block is unresolved emotional conditioning. Many with Jupiter in the fourth house were raised around expectations, beliefs, fears, or emotional patterns that weren't actually theirs. So, over time, it becomes difficult to distinguish between what feels true and what feels familiar. And those are not always the same thing. Sometimes what feels familiar is simply an old pattern, such as a family expectation, a survival strategy, or a comfort zone. Meanwhile, your soul is trying to guide you towards something new. But growth often feels unfamiliar before it feels natural. So many that have Jupiter in the fourth house miss signs because you're listening to conditioning instead of listening to yourself. The universe tends to guide you through emotional resonance. So you may notice that guidance appears as an inner knowing that won't leave you alone, a deep sense of peace, a feeling of emotional expansion, a strong pull toward a place, person, or decision, or even a quiet certainty that grows over time. So for you, guidance often looks like feeling before knowing. So you'll find yourself drawn toward certain cities, certain life choices, certain people, certain environments, certain homes. And long before you understand why, your soul already knows. The universe may also guide you through childhood memories, ancestral healing, family patterns, recurring emotional themes, nostalgia, dreams connected to home or family, and experiences that help you understand yourself more deeply. One of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the fourth house is peace. Many people think guidance should feel exciting, urgent, intense. But for this placement, guidance often feels grounding. The right decision tends to create more inner stability, not more chaos. The right path often creates more emotional alignment, not more emotional confusion. And this is because your soul is constantly trying to build a stronger foundation. And the universe often guides you by showing you what truly supports it. Jupiter in the fourth house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming more connected to its inner world. Your answers are often closer than you think. The challenge is creating enough space to hear them. The first step to achieving this is to stop outsourcing your truth. Not every answer lives outside of you. So before asking for advice, pause and ask, what do I already know deep down? Your first response is going to be more accurate than you realize. Next is to pay attention to what feels like home. Your soul responds strongly to alignment. So notice people, opportunities, environments, and decisions that create a feeling of peace, safety, and expansion within you. Next is to explore your emotional patterns. Some of your strongest guidance arrives through self understanding. So ask yourself, is this my truth or is this something I inherited? That answer can change everything. Next is to create more quiet time. This placement receives guidance through emotional awareness. So spend time sitting in nature, walking, reflecting, journaling, or simply being alone with your thoughts. Your inner voice becomes clearer when external noise becomes quieter. And finally, trust the feeling that keeps returning. The strongest guidance you receive doesn't disappear. So pay attention to recurring dreams, recurring desires, recurring emotional nudges, and recurring visions for your future. If a feeling keeps returning, there is wisdom inside of it because your soul rarely repeats itself without reason. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in your fourth house is I trust the wisdom of my inner world. The universe guides me through emotional truth, inner knowing, and the people, places, and experiences that feel like home to my soul. What part of your life makes more sense now after hearing this? Be sure to tell me in the comments. Be sure to tap like if you felt called out in a good way. Pass this on to your friends, type this video, and subscribe to keep growing with me. And if you know you're meant to be seen, but something in you still freezes every time it's time to fully show up, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you release the fear of being seen, stop hiding behind overthinking and procrastination, and finally feel safe stepping into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in your fifth house, the universe speaks to you through joy, not happiness in the superficial sense, not constant positivity, and not pretending everything is fine, but genuine aliveness, the kind that lights something up inside of you. Jupiter in the fifth house is one of the placements that often receives guidance through what brings life back into your spirit. Your soul was never designed to navigate life exclusively through logic, responsibility, or obligation. It was designed to create, to express, to play, to experience wonder, and to follow what makes your heart come alive. Because at its core, the fifth house governs pleasure, creativity, self expression, passion, and the unique spark that makes you you. And what makes this placement so powerful is that your guidance arrives through desire, not the desires you were told you should want, but your real desires, the ones that keep resurfacing no matter how many times you try to ignore them. You may have noticed that throughout your life, your biggest turning points often begin when something captures your heart. So, a creative project, a hobby, a dream, a person, an idea, or a vision for your future. Something suddenly makes you feel alive again. And that's often when the universe starts speaking because your soul understands the language of inspiration. So that means that the universe guides you through imagination, creativity, passion, excitement, playfulness, and the things that remind you who you are underneath survival mode. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the fifth house is that your happiness is not a distraction from your path. It's actually the path. The language that your soul understands is aliveness because what expands your heart reveals where your soul wants to grow next. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the fifth house is believing joy has to be earned. So many with this placement were taught that responsibility comes first, productivity comes first, work comes first, logic comes first. And once everything is handled, then maybe there's room for joy. But the problem is that your soul doesn't operate that way. For you, joy is the guidance. Yet many with Jupiter in the fifth house dismiss the very things that are trying to lead you because they seem unrealistic, childish, impractical, selfish, irresponsible, or too good to be true. So you ignore creative urges, talents, dreams, passions, and desires in favor of what feels safer, more acceptable, or more predictable. Another common block is over identifying with survival mode. So when life becomes difficult, many people stop asking, what lights me up? And start asking, what's the most responsible thing to do? Now, responsibility does matter, but for this placement, a life built entirely around obligation leads to disconnection because the universe is trying to guide you through enthusiasm. And it's difficult to hear enthusiasm when you're constantly operating from pressure. So many Jupiter in the fifth house people will miss signs because they keep dismissing what excites them. Meanwhile, excitement was the sign. Now, the universe tends to guide you through attraction. So you may notice that guidance appears as sudden inspiration, creative ideas that won't leave you alone, a desire to create something, a passion that keeps resurfacing, excitement about a new possibility, or a strong pull towards self expression. So for you, guidance often looks like creative energy, where you become fascinated with something. You can't stop thinking about it. You feel energized every time it crosses your mind. And even if it doesn't make sense yet, it keeps calling you. So the universe may be guiding you through artistic pursuits, hobbies, romance, children, performance, storytelling, creative projects, entertainment, and experiences that reconnect you with your authentic self. One of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the fifth house is excitement. And this is not fleeting distraction or impulsiveness, but real excitement, the kind that creates energy instead of draining it, the kind that keeps returning, the kind that makes you feel more like yourself. Because your soul often reveals the next chapter through what it loves, meaning the universe isn't always trying to push you toward what's practical. Sometimes it's trying to pull you toward what's meaningful. Jupiter in the fifth house strengthens its connection to guidance by taking joy seriously. And not because life is supposed to be easy, but because joy is one of the ways your soul communicates. Some of the best ways for you to tap into this is first to follow what lights you up. Your excitement contains information. So ask yourself, what am I naturally excited about right now? Then give it your attention without immediately dismissing it. Next is to stop treating joy like a reward. Joy is not something you earn after you've suffered enough. So build small moments of play, creativity, pleasure, and self expression into your life now, not later. Next is to revisit what you loved before the world told you who to be. So many of your clues live in your authentic interests. So think about childhood passions, creative interests, dreams you abandoned, and activities that made you lose track of time because your soul leaves breadcrumbs in those areas. Next is to create more than you consume. This placement thrives through expression. So instead of only consuming inspiration, start creating. Write, paint, sing, build, share. Your guidance becomes clearer through the act of creation itself. And finally, trust the desire that keeps returning. Not every desire is random. Most of those desires are directional. So pay attention to the dream, idea, or creative urge that keeps resurfacing. If it keeps returning, there is a reason because your soul rarely keeps knocking on the same door without purpose. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in your fifth house is I trust what brings my spirit alive. The universe guides me through joy, creativity, inspiration, and the desires that help me express who I truly am. Where did this hit something that you've been quietly carrying? Let's talk about it in the comments. And be sure to help this video reach who it's supposed to. So be sure to like this video, share it, type it, and subscribe so that the universe and the algorithm keep delivering. And if you're tired of feeling like there's something bigger inside of you that never fully comes out, my new The Visibility Reset was created for exactly that wound. It's part audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you move through the fear, self doubt, avoidance, and emotional blocks that keep you hiding. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below. So be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in your sixth house, the universe speaks to you through what repeats, not through dramatic revelations, not through lightning bolt moments, not through grand signs that completely change your life overnight. Jupiter in the sixth house receives guidance through patterns, through the things you do every day, through the habits you build, through the routines you maintain, and through the choices that seem small in the moment, but eventually shape the direction of your life. Because at its core, the sixth house governs your daily life, your health, service, discipline, routines, habits, and the systems that support your life behind the scenes. And what makes this placement unique is that your soul often learns through consistency. So while some people receive guidance through inspiration, you receive guidance through implementation. So you may notice that your biggest breakthroughs don't usually happen in one giant decision. They happen because of a habit you committed to, a choice you repeated, a skill you practice, a routine you developed, or a daily action that slowly changed your life. Because your soul understands the language of accumulation. So that means that the universe communicates with you through pay attention to what you're repeatedly doing. So you may suddenly realize this habit is helping me grow. This environment is draining me. This routine is no longer supporting who I'm becoming. Or this small change is creating a much bigger result than I expected. So for Jupiter in the sixth, guidance arrives through what is sustainable, not what's exciting, not what is impressive, but what actually works. And one of the most important things to understand about this placement is that the universe is often speaking through your daily life. So the language that your soul understands is patterns, because patterns reveal what is helping you grow and what is holding you back. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the sixth house is overlooking what seems too ordinary. So many with this placement assume guidance should feel extraordinary. So you could be expecting a spiritual awakening, a breakthrough, a huge opportunity, a life changing moment, or some unmistakable sign from the universe. Meanwhile, the universe is trying to get your attention through exhaustion, recurring stress, daily frustrations, energy levels, health patterns, work patterns, and habits that are either supporting or sabotaging you. But because these signs feel practical instead of mystical, they often get ignored. Another common block is constantly looking for a new solution instead of honoring what already works. Jupiter naturally seeks growth. And in the sixth house, this can sometimes create a tendency to believe the answer must be something bigger, when often the answer is something simpler, such as a healthier schedule, a boundary, a daily practice, or a small adjustment repeated consistently. So many with Jupiter in the sixth house will miss guidance because you're underestimating the power of small things. Meanwhile, the small thing is the thing changing everything. The universe tends to guide you through feedback. So you may notice that guidance appears as changes in your energy, improvements in your health, work situations that reveal what's aligned, habits that either strengthen or weaken you, or repeated circumstances that keep teaching the same lesson. So for you, guidance often looks like cause and effect. So you try something, you observe the result, you adjust, you learn, and over time, clarity emerges. The universe may also guide you through your body, your responsibilities, your work environment, your productivity, your daily schedule, and the systems you've built around your life. Now, one of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the sixth house is your body. Your body is constantly communicating information long before your mind fully understands it. So you may notice feeling energized around certain people, feeling depleted in certain environments, experiencing recurring symptoms when something is out of alignment, or feeling noticeably lighter when you're moving in the right direction. And this is because your soul speaks through embodiment. So the message isn't always, here's your purpose. Sometimes the message is, pay attention to what this is doing to you every day. Because your daily life is where your guidance lives. Jupiter in the sixth house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming more aware of the patterns shaping everyday life. Your soul reveals the answers through repetition. The question is whether you're paying attention. So, the best way to approach this is first to track what gives you energy. Your energy is information. So, at the end of every day, ask, what energized me today and what drained me? Patterns will start to emerge. Next is to stop ignoring recurring frustrations. Repeated problems contain repeated lessons. So notice what keeps happening. And instead of asking, why is this happening again? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Next is to build systems that support the life you want. Your future is often hidden inside your daily habits. So choose one small habit that supports the person you're becoming and commit to it consistently. Next is to listen to your body. Your body is one of your strongest channels of guidance. So pay attention to tension, exhaustion, ease, vitality, and emotional stress. Your body recognizes misalignment before your mind does. And finally, respect the power of small changes. Not every breakthrough arrives dramatically. So instead of focusing on massive transformations, ask yourself, what's one small change that would make my daily life better? Then honor it, because your soul grows through what is repeated, not what is rushed. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in the sixth house is: I trust the wisdom found in my daily life. The universe guides me through patterns, routines, embodied awareness, and the small choices that help me grow into who I am becoming. What did this help you understand about yourself for the first time? Be sure to drop it in the comments below. And if this is the kind of truth you've been looking for, be sure to hit like, share this video, hype this video, and subscribe so the universe keeps us synced. And if you keep procrastinating every time it's time to fully put yourself out there, there's usually something deeper underneath it. My new The Visibility Reset helps you to work through the emotional fear of being seen through powerful audio guidance, visibility activations, and healing exercises designed to help you finally step into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in your seventh house, the universe speaks to you through mirrors, not mirrors that show you how you look, mirrors that show you who you are. Jupiter in the seventh house is one of the placements that receives guidance through relationships, but not in the way most people think. This placement is not simply the universe speaks to you through romantic partners. It's much deeper than that. The universe speaks through the people who reflect something back to you. Because at its core, the seventh house governs partnership, connection, reciprocity, reflection, connection, relationships, and the way we come to understand ourselves through our interactions with others. And what makes this placement unique is that life often uses relationships as classrooms. And this is every relationship, not just romantic ones. Friends, clients, family members, mentors, business partners, strangers, even brief encounters. So you may notice that your biggest breakthroughs often happen after an interaction with another person, a conversation that shifts something, a relationship reveals something, a conflict that exposes something, or a connection that awakens something. Because your soul understands the language of reflection. So, the universe often communicates by placing people in your life who reveal what you believe you deserve, what you tolerate, what you fear, what you're ready to heal, what you're ready to receive, and what you're still learning about yourself. But the deeper lesson of Jupiter in the seventh house is that the relationship is rarely the message. You are. The person is simply helping you see yourself more clearly. Because your soul's growth isn't ultimately about finding the perfect relationship. It's about becoming the version of yourself capable of creating healthy relationships. And one of the most important things to understand about this placement is that the universe is not trying to teach you how to lose yourself in relationships. It's trying to teach you how to find yourself through them. So the language your soul understands is reflection because every relationship contains information about your relationship with yourself. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the seventh house is focusing so much on the other person that you miss what the relationship is revealing about you. So many people with this placement naturally look outward. So you may ask, why did they do that? What do they think? What do they want? Why won't they choose me? How do I make this relationship work? And while those questions are understandable, they often pull attention away from the deeper lesson. The lesson is rarely them, the lesson is often you, your boundaries, your patterns, your self worth, your needs, your expectations, and your relationship with yourself. Another common block is believing relationships will provide what only self connection can provide. Many with Jupiter in the seventh house unconsciously search for validation, belonging, worthiness, security, confidence, or purpose through partnership. But the universe keeps creating situations that reveal those things cannot be sustainably outsourced. Because this placement is here to learn that healthy relationships are built upon self awareness, not self abandonment. So many people with Jupiter in the seventh house miss signs because they become preoccupied with being chosen. Meanwhile, the universe is trying to teach you how to choose yourself. The universe tends to guide you through relational experiences. So you'll notice that guidance appears as connections that reveal hidden strengths, relationships that expose old wounds, people who challenge your beliefs about yourself, conversations that create sudden self awareness, recurring relationship patterns, or interactions that help you understand yourself more deeply. So, for you, guidance often looks like reflection before realization. So, someone enters your life, something gets activated, and suddenly you're seeing yourself differently. The universe will also guide you through mentors, coaches, teachers, close friendships, business partnerships, and meaningful one on one conversations. So, one of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the seventh house is emotional activation. The people who trigger strong reactions often reveal something important. And it's not because they're always right, and it's not because they're always healthy. This is because they are showing you where your growth is asking for attention. You may also notice that certain relationships repeatedly teach lessons around self worth, trust, boundaries, vulnerability, receiving, and authenticity. Because the universe often uses connection to help you understand yourself. So the relationship is not always the destination. Sometimes it's the mirror. Now, Jupiter in the seventh house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming more curious about what relationships are revealing rather than becoming consumed by the relationship itself. Your soul grows through connection, but it grows even more through self awareness. The first step to achieving this is to ask what the relationship is reflecting. Every relationship that you have contains information. So instead of immediately asking, what does this person think about me? Ask, what is this relationship teaching me about myself? Next is to choose yourself first. Self love is not separate from your relationship journey, it is the foundation of it. So before seeking validation, approval, commitment, or reassurance from someone else, ask, have I already given this to myself? That answer matters. Next is to pay attention to repeating patterns. Patterns are often where the message lives. So begin to notice recurring themes around communication, boundaries, abandonment, people pleasing, overgiving, trust, or settling. The repetition is pointing toward the lesson. Next is to stop measuring your worth by who chooses you. Your value does not increase when someone chooses you, and it does not decrease when someone doesn't. So practice separating your worth from another person's ability or inability to recognize it. And finally, build the relationship you want with yourself. The strongest relationships in your life will mirror the relationship you have with yourself. So become intentional about self respect, self trust, self compassion, self honesty, and honoring your own needs. Because the healthier your relationship with yourself becomes, the clearer your external relationships become as well. A great affirmation for you for having Jupiter in your seventh house is, I choose myself as deeply as I choose others. The universe guides me through relationships, reflection, and the wisdom that helps me build deeper self love, self trust, and authentic connection. What did this help you understand about yourself for the first time? Be sure to drop it in the comments below. And if this brought you clarity you didn't have before, be sure to hit like, share this with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe to stay connected to this kind of energy. And if you keep procrastinating every time it's time to fully put yourself out there, there's usually something deeper underneath it. My new The Visibility Reset helps you to work through the emotional fear of being seen through powerful audio guidance, visibility activations, and healing exercises designed to help you finally step into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in your eighth house, the universe speaks to you through transformation, not the kind you choose, the kind you can't avoid. Jupiter in the eighth house is one of the placements that often receives guidance through endings, rebirths, emotional breakthroughs, and the moments that fundamentally change who you are. Because at its core, the eighth house governs transformation, vulnerability, loss, rebirth, emotional depth, and the unseen forces that shape our lives beneath the surface. And what makes this placement unique is that your soul learns through surrender. So life may repeatedly place you in situations where you are asked to let go, trust, face uncomfortable truths, release control, or step into a version of yourself you've never been before. And this is not because the universe is trying to make your life difficult. This is because your soul grows through transformation. So you may notice that your biggest breakthroughs happen after a betrayal, a loss, a major life transition, a healing journey, a financial shift, a deep emotional realization, or a period where everything you thought was certain begins to change because your soul understands the language of depth. The universe communicates to you through experiences that force you beneath the surface, below the mask, below the coping mechanisms, and below the stories you've been telling yourself, until eventually you're face to face with something real. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the eighth house is that your guidance rarely arrives through comfort. It arrives through transformation because the language your soul understands is evolution. Because every ending contains the seeds of a new beginning. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the eighth house is resisting change. And this is because growth often requires letting go of something familiar. And letting go can feel terrifying. So many with this placement spend years trying to preserve versions of themselves that you've already outgrown. So this is you holding on to relationships, identities, beliefs, fears, emotional attachments, financial situations, or old stories, long after life has begun to ask you to release them because the unknown feels uncomfortable. Meanwhile, the universe is trying to create space for something bigger. Another common block is trying to intellectualize what must be felt. Jupiter in the eighth house receives guidance through emotional truth, but many people attempt to analyze it, rationalize it, avoid it, suppress it, or explain it away, instead of allowing themselves to fully experience it. The challenge is that your soul's guidance lives inside the feeling itself. And if you avoid the feeling, you miss the message. So many with this placement may ask, why is this happening to me? When a more powerful question is, who is this experience helping me become? Because your guidance is rarely about preserving who you've been, and it's more about becoming who you're meant to be. Now, the universe tends to guide you through emotional and energetic turning points. So you may notice that guidance appears as a truth you can no longer ignore, a situation that forces growth, a relationship that transforms you, an ending that changes your direction, a deep healing process, or a realization that completely shifts your perspective. So for you, guidance looks like emotional revelation. Something hidden becomes visible. Something buried comes to the surface. Something you've been avoiding finally demands your attention. And while it may feel uncomfortable in the moment, it becomes the catalyst for profound growth. So the universe could guide you through shadow work, grief, intimacy, healing work, financial partnerships, energetic exchanges, spiritual awakenings, and experiences that reveal what is happening beneath the surface. Now, one of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the eighth is discomfort. Not all discomfort is a warning. Sometimes discomfort is growth. Sometimes discomfort is truth. And sometimes discomfort is the old version of you realizing its time is ending. So you may notice recurring themes around power, surrender, trust, control, vulnerability, intimacy, and emotional depth because your soul receives guidance through what transforms you. So the message isn't always, this is easy. The message is often, this is changing you. Jupiter in the eighth house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming more willing to trust the transformation process. Your soul is not here to avoid change, it's here to evolve through it. The first step to achieving this is to stop clinging to what is already ending. Sometimes the sign is not what is arriving, it's what is leaving. So ask yourself, what am I trying to hold on to that life is asking me to release? Next is to let yourself feel the feeling. Your emotions contain information. So instead of immediately fixing, analyzing, or escaping a feeling, spend time understanding what it's trying to show you. Next is to become curious about transformation. Growth doesn't always arrive wrapped in comfort. When life feels uncertain, ask yourself, how might this be helping me evolve? Instead of assuming something has gone wrong. Next is to pay attention to what keeps surfacing. The message often repeats until it's acknowledged. So notice recurring fears, patterns, emotional triggers, relationship dynamics, and themes. The repetition is pointing toward the next layer of healing. And finally, trust that the breakdown is not always the end. Some of your greatest breakthroughs arrive after something falls apart. So when something ends, resist the urge to immediately label it as failure. Ask yourself, what new version of me is trying to emerge? Because your soul receives its clearest guidance in the moments of transformation. A great affirmation for you with your Jupiter in the eighth house is I trust the transformation unfolding within me. The universe guides me through truth, healing, vulnerability, and the experiences that help me evolve into who I'm meant to become. What version of you are you stepping into after this video? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And if this actually moves something in you, don't just sit on it. Be sure to hit like, hype this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for what's next. And if being visible feels emotionally heavier than it should, my new The Visibility Reset is here to help you understand why. This experience combines emotional reset audio guidance with visibility activations to help you release fear, stop shrinking yourself, and feel safer being fully seen, heard, and expressed. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in the ninth house, the universe speaks to you through meaning, not information, meaning. Jupiter in the ninth house is one of the placements that is constantly searching for the deeper truth beneath life's experiences. Your soul doesn't just want to know what happened, it wants to know Why did it happen? What does it mean? What am I supposed to learn from this? And how does this fit into the bigger picture of my life? This is because, at its core, the ninth house governs wisdom, spirituality, belief systems, truth, perspective, and the search for meaning. And what makes this placement unique is that your guidance arrives through expanded understanding. So you may notice that throughout your life, your biggest breakthroughs happen when your perspective changes, not necessarily when your circumstances change. So a book could change how you see something. A conversation can shift your worldview. A spiritual insight reframes an entire chapter of your life. Or a life experience teaches you something no one else could. This is because your soul understands the language of wisdom. So the universe communicates with you through experiences that expand your perspective. So you may suddenly realize maybe there's another way to look at this. Maybe this experience served a purpose I couldn't see before. Maybe my current reality isn't the full story. Or maybe life is bigger than I thought. And that realization changes everything because your soul was never designed to stay confined inside one way of thinking. It was designed to grow, to question, to explore, and to seek. The language your soul understands is expanded perspective because the answer isn't a new circumstance, it's a new understanding. The biggest challenge for Jupiter in the ninth house is becoming attached to what you already believe. And this may sound surprising because this placement is often associated with openness. But sometimes the strongest beliefs can also become the strongest blind spots. Many with this placement spend years searching for truth, but eventually they become attached to a philosophy, a spiritual path, a belief system, an identity, a worldview, or a particular understanding of reality. And when guidance arrives challenging that belief, it becomes easy to dismiss because growth requires expansion, and expansion requires letting go of certainty. Another common block is constantly searching for answers while overlooking lived experience. Jupiter in the ninth house loves learning, but sometimes those with this placement become so focused on finding wisdom, studying wisdom, consuming wisdom, and discussing wisdom that you forget to embody it. The universe may keep sending the same lesson through real life while you're looking for the answer in another book. Many with Jupiter in the ninth house miss signs because they're waiting for some grand truth to appear. Meanwhile, the universe is trying to teach you through the life that you're already living. Because wisdom is not just something you learn, it's something you become. Now, the universe tends to guide you through expansion. So you may notice that guidance appears as a sudden shift in perspective, a teacher who arrives at the perfect time, a new belief that changes everything, a book that answers a question you've been asking, a spiritual insight, a journey that broadens your worldview, or an experience that completely changes how you understand life. So for you, guidance looks like revelation, and not necessarily a mystical revelation, but a perspective revelation. A moment where your understanding becomes larger than it was before. So you could suddenly become fascinated with a spiritual path, a culture, a subject, a life experience, or a question you can't stop exploring. And often that fascination contains the message. The universe may also guide you through travel, education, certain mentors, spirituality, philosophy, personal growth, cultural experiences, and situations that challenge your assumptions. One of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the ninth house is discomfort around being wrong. And sometimes guidance appears when a belief begins to crack. And it's not because you failed, it's more so because you've outgrown it. Because your soul often receives guidance through expansion of consciousness. So the message isn't always, here's the answer. Sometimes it's, there's more truth available than what you currently know. Jupiter in the ninth house strengthens its connection to guidance by remaining teachable. Your soul grows through expansion, and expansion requires openness. The first step to achieving this is to stay curious about life. The moment you think you figured everything out is the moment growth slows down. So instead, ask yourself, what if there's something here I haven't considered yet? Next is to let experiences teach you. Not every answer arrives through study. So start paying attention to the lessons life is actively showing you instead of only searching for answers outside yourself. Next is to question your certainties. Growth begins where certainty ends. So notice which beliefs, assumptions, or stories you stopped questioning. There may be wisdom waiting on the other side. Next is to follow what expands your perspective. Because your soul receives guidance through expansion, pay attention to books, experiences, conversations, and opportunities that challenge you to see life differently. And finally, seek wisdom, not just information. Knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. So, when learning something new, ask yourself, how can I live this? Not just, how can I understand this? Because your soul isn't here to collect information, it's here to become wiser through experience. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in your ninth house is, I remain open to the wisdom life is revealing to me. The universe guides me through expanded perspective, meaningful experiences, and the truths that help me grow beyond my current understanding. What part of your life makes more sense now after hearing this? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And if this brought you clarity that you didn't have before, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe to stay connected to this kind of energy. And if you know you're meant to be seen, but something in you still freezes every time it's time to fully show up, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you release the fear of being seen, stop hiding behind overthinking and procrastination, and finally feel safe stepping into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in your 10th house, the universe speaks to you through responsibility, not pressure, not perfection, responsibility. Jupiter in the 10th house is one of the placements that receives guidance through purpose, leadership, and the call to become who they are capable of being. This is because, at its core, the 10th house governs purpose, achievement, visibility, legacy, leadership, reputation, impact, and the contribution you make to the world. And what makes this placement unique is that your guidance arrives through potential, not who you are today, but who you could become. So you may notice throughout your life, you are repeatedly placed in situations that ask more of you: more growth, more ownership, more maturity, more leadership, more trust in yourself. And while that can feel intimidating at times, it is often how the universe gets your attention. This is because your soul understands the language of purpose. The universe often communicates through moments where you realize, I'm capable of more than this. It's time to stop playing small. I'm being asked to step up. Or this responsibility is preparing me for something bigger. For Jupiter in the 10th house, guidance arrives through opportunities that require expansion. Not because you're fully ready, but because you are ready to grow. So you may feel called toward building something meaningful, creating a legacy, becoming an authority in your field, leading others, sharing your wisdom, or pursuing a vision that impacts more than just yourself. This is because your soul was not designed to stay hidden. It was designed to contribute. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the 10th house is that the universe speaks through your potential. The language your soul understands is purpose. Because when something aligns with your purpose, it tends to create a feeling of expansion that is difficult to ignore. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the 10th house is assuming you're not ready. Many with this placement spend years waiting for more credentials, more experience, more confidence, more certainty, or more proof before stepping into what you're being called toward. Meanwhile, the opportunity is already there. The invitation is already there, and the growth is already there. But because the vision feels bigger than your current identity, you hesitate. Another common block is confusing visibility with ego. Some with Jupiter in the 10th house unconsciously fear being seen. And this isn't because you don't want success. This is more because success comes with responsibility, expectations, exposure, accountability. And sometimes it feels safer to stay where you are than to become who you're capable of becoming. So you downplay your gifts, you delay your goals, you stay in environments that you've outgrown, or you convince yourself that you're not qualified enough. Meanwhile, the universe keeps placing opportunities in front of you that say, it's time. If you have Jupiter in the 10th house, you may miss these signs because you're waiting to feel ready. But readiness comes after the decision, not before it. The universe tends to guide you through opportunities that stretch your capacity. So you may notice that guidance appears as leadership opportunities, career shifts, increased responsibility, public recognition, invitations to step forward, people who see potential in you, or situations that require you to trust yourself at a higher level. So for you, guidance looks like being called forward, Life keeps asking you to expand, to lead, to own your expertise, to stop hiding your gifts, and to take your vision seriously. And often the opportunities arrive before you feel completely prepared. So the universe may guide you through mentors, authority figures, professional challenges, public platforms, business opportunities, and experiences that help you grow into greater self respect. Now, one of the most overlooked signs for Jupiter in the 10th house is responsibility itself, because many people assume responsibility is a burden. And for this placement, responsibility is the doorway. The thing you've been entrusted with is the very thing preparing you for your next level of growth. So you'll always notice recurring themes around leadership, recognition, influence, visibility, and long term impact. And this is because your soul receives guidance through what it's being asked to build. So the message isn't going to always be, this will be easy. The message is often, this matters. Jupiter in the 10th house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming willing to take its purpose seriously. Your soul is shown the next level before you fully identify with it. The question is whether you're willing to grow into it. One of the best ways to approach this is to first stop waiting to feel ready. Growth rarely asks for perfection. It asks for participation. So instead, ask yourself, what would I do if I trusted that I could grow into the role? Then take one step in that direction. Next is to pay attention to what keeps calling you forward. Your signs will often arrive through recurring visions of what's possible. So notice recurring dreams, goals, ambitions, and recurring ideas about the impact you want to make. If the vision keeps returning, it's there for a reason. Next is to take responsibility for your gifts. Your talents are not random. So identify one strength you've been minimizing and find a way to use it more intentionally. The things that come naturally to you are part of your purpose. Next is to let yourself be seen. Visibility is often part of the growth process for this placement. So share your work, speak your ideas, apply for the opportunity, launch the project. Stop assuming you need to stay hidden until you're perfect. And finally, build for the long term. Jupiter in the 10th house is often playing a bigger game than it realizes. So ask yourself, what am I building that will still matter 5 years from now? Then start making decisions from that perspective, because your soul is not only thinking about today, it's thinking about legacy. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in your 10th house is, I trust the purpose unfolding through my life. The universe guides me through opportunity, responsibility, leadership, and the vision of who I am becoming. If I just exposed a pattern you've been in, say it out loud in the comments and let me know. And if this is your kind of space, show this video some love with a like, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe so we stay locked in. And if being visible feels emotionally heavier than it should, my new The Visibility Reset is here to help you understand why. This experience combines emotional reset audio guidance with visibility activations to help you release fear, stop shrinking yourself, and feel safer being fully seen, heard, and expressed. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in the 11th house, the universe speaks to you through possibility, through the future, through the version of your life that hasn't happened yet, but is trying to. Jupiter in the 11th house is one of the few placements that can often sense expansion before there's any physical evidence for it. So you may have experienced this throughout your life. For example, long before something becomes real, you start feeling it, or you become interested in a topic, drawn toward an idea, fascinated by a possibility, or pulled toward a dream that doesn't fully make sense yet. And often other people can't see what you see. And this is because your soul naturally tunes into what is emerging rather than what already exists. So, this placement often experiences life through a quiet feeling of there's something more available to me than what I'm currently seeing. The universe doesn't typically guide you through certainty, it guides you through expansion. So, a conversation that suddenly changes your perspective, a vision for your future that won't leave you alone, an opportunity that expands your understanding of what's possible, a person who introduces you to a reality you didn't know existed, or even a dream that feels bigger than your current circumstances. And this is because your soul understands one language better than almost any other, and that is possibility. The moment your perspective gets bigger, guidance has usually arrived. And this is why Jupiter in the 11th house often receives messages through future visions, unexpected inspiration, collective moments, innovative ideas, evolving dreams, and the people who help you see beyond your current limitations. And this is because your soul isn't just trying to navigate the present, it's constantly listening for the future. Now, one of the biggest challenges for Jupiter in the 11th house is that guidance often arrives before proof. So, long before the opportunity appears, the vision appears. Long before the breakthrough arrives, the restlessness arrives. Long before reality changes, your perspective changes. But most people are taught to trust what they can already see. And Jupiter in the 11th house is being asked to trust what it can feel becoming possible. And that's much harder because these signs that come to you rarely arrive looking practical. Instead, they show up as inspiration, curiosity, fascination, excitement, and an inner knowing that there's something bigger waiting for you. The problem is that many of us with this placement immediately try to talk ourselves out of it. So you may ask, is this realistic? What if I'm wrong? What if this never happens? What if I'm getting ahead of myself? So you dismiss the very thing that was trying to guide you. Another common block is confusing comfort with alignment. Having Jupiter in the 11th house means that your soul is designed for growth, which means that guidance is going to arrive as expansion before it arrives as certainty. And expansion can feel uncomfortable because it's asking you to think bigger, dream bigger, imagine more, and consider possibilities that you've never allowed yourself to believe in before. So many with Jupiter in the 11th house miss these signs because you're waiting for guarantees. Meanwhile, the universe is offering invitations, and invitations require participation, not certainty. Having Jupiter in the 11th house means that guidance usually arrives as a future version of yourself trying to get your attention. So you may notice periods where you become unexpectedly obsessed with a new topic, a new dream, a new vision, a new direction, or a new possibility. And seemingly out of nowhere, you can't stop thinking about it. For this placement, those moments are not random because your soul often receives guidance through expansion of awareness. You may suddenly discover a path that you've never considered. You could meet someone that's living a life that you secretly want. You can become fascinated by an idea years before it becomes relevant. You could feel drawn toward a future you can't fully explain or experience an intense desire to grow beyond your current reality. Guidance for you also tends to show up through recurring themes. So you may hear the same message repeatedly through different people, different books, different podcasts, different conversations, or different environments. And this is not because the universe is repeating itself, but it's more so because it's trying to make sure you hear it. Because this placement also receives guidance through restlessness. And this is something that many people misunderstand because sometimes your dissatisfaction isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that you've outgrown your current chapter and your soul is sensing a future your conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. And because the 11th house rules the future, many of your signs arrive as glimpses of what could be. The universe often guides you by showing you what's possible before it's probable. Jupiter in the 11th house strengthens its connection to guidance by becoming more willing to trust expansion before evidence. Your soul doesn't always receive answers, it receives possibilities. And learning to follow those possibilities is what strengthens the connection. The first step to achieving this is to follow what expands you. So pay attention to what inspires you, excites you, broadens your perspective, and makes you feel like your life could become bigger. So this is about asking yourself, what feels expansive right now, even if I don't fully understand why? That's going to be a clue for you. Next is to stop waiting for proof. Most of your guidance arrives before physical confirmation. If you wait until everything makes perfect sense, you will miss the invitation. So, this is about you noticing where you're demanding certainty before allowing yourself to explore a possibility. Next is to honor your restlessness. Not all dissatisfaction is self sabotage. Sometimes your soul is simply finished with the current chapter. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what am I being prepared for? Next is to pay attention to recurring fascinations. Your obsessions often contain clues. The topics that repeatedly pull your attention are going to be pointing you toward your next season of growth. So keep track of recurring interests, recurring dreams, recurring ideas, and recurring visions for your future. Patterns are where the message lives. And finally, share the bigger vision. Jupiter grows through expansion, and the universe responds when you finally stop hiding the dream. So, this is about you talking about the future you're imagining. Let yourself think bigger. Allow yourself to speak the vision before you know exactly how it will happen. Because your soul receives support the moment you stop pretending the dream isn't there. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in the 11th house is: I trust the possibilities that expand my spirit. The universe guides me toward my future through inspiration, vision, and the opportunities that help me grow beyond my current reality. Which part of this are you still avoiding in your real life? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And if this actually moves something in you, don't just sit on it. Be sure to hit like, hype this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for what's next. And if you know you're meant to be seen, but something in you still freezes every time it's time to fully show up, my new The Visibility Reset was made for you. It's part emotional reset audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you release the fear of being seen, stop hiding behind overthinking and procrastination, and finally feel safe stepping into your light. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. If you have Jupiter in the 12th house, the universe speaks to you through what cannot be seen. While some people receive guidance through logic, evidence, or external confirmation, you receive it through feeling, through intuition, through your dreams, through symbols, through quiet knowing. Jupiter in the 12th house is one of the strongest placements for receiving guidance from the unseen world. Your soul naturally picks up on things that cannot always be explained. So you may have experienced moments where you knew something before it happened, where a dream carried an important message, an intuitive feeling turned out to be correct, where you felt strongly guided toward or away from something, or an answer arrived without any logical explanation. And the interesting thing is, the guidance you receive rarely arrives loudly. Instead, it arrives softly. A feeling, a nudge, a knowing, a sensation you can't quite explain. And this is because your soul understands the language of surrender. This placement often experiences life through a deep awareness that there is more happening beneath the surface than what I can physically see. So the universe tends to communicate with you through synchronicities, spiritual experiences, creative inspiration, and moments of profound inner knowing. You are not always meant to think your way to the answer. Many of your answers arrive when you stop trying so hard to find them, because your soul learns through trust, not control. And one of the most important things to understand about Jupiter in the 12th house is that your guidance arrives in silence. And this is not because the universe isn't speaking. This is because that's where you're most able to hear it. Now, the biggest challenge for Jupiter in the 12th house is doubting what you already know. This placement receives guidance long before the mind can explain it. And that's exactly what makes it difficult to trust because the signs rarely arrive looking practical. They don't come with spreadsheets, guarantees, evidence, or step by step instructions. They arrive as impressions, instincts, and subtle energetic shifts. And many with this placement immediately dismiss them. So you may tell yourself, I'm imagining things. That's probably nothing. I need more proof. I'm overthinking it. Or maybe I'm just being emotional. But what you're actually doing is overriding one of your strongest gifts. Another common block is constant noise. Jupiter in the 12th house receives guidance in stillness, but our modern world rewards distraction. The more overwhelmed, overstimulated, and externally focused you become, the harder it is to hear your own inner guidance. So many people with this placement spend years looking for answers outside of themselves, while the answer has been quietly waiting inside them the entire time. And this is because your guidance system doesn't always operate through external validation. It operates through inner resonance. The universe will often guide you through what feels impossible to explain. So you may notice that guidance arrives when you're alone, when you're resting, meditating, creating, when you're in nature, when you're sleeping, or when you've completely stopped obsessing over the answer. For you, guidance appears as knowing before knowing why. So you may suddenly feel pulled towards something, ready to release something, aware of something, or deeply certain about something. And only later does the logic catch up. Dreams can also be especially important for this placement because you'll receive symbols, messages, themes, warnings, insights, or emotional clarity while you sleep. The universe may also guide you through intuitive downloads, unexpected spiritual experiences, meaningful coincidences, recurring symbols, or moments where everything suddenly makes sense without explanation. And one of the most overlooked forms of guidance for Jupiter in the 12th house is divine timing. So you may find that things often work out behind the scenes. Doors open unexpectedly. Help appears when needed. Opportunities emerge at the right moment. Or protection arrives without you realizing it. And this is because this placement often carries an invisible current of support flowing beneath the surface. The challenge is trusting it. Jupiter in the 12th house strengthens its connection to guidance by creating more space to hear it. This placement doesn't usually need more information, it needs more stillness. Your soul is already receiving messages. The question is whether you're giving yourself enough room to notice them. The first step to achieving this is to create space for silence. Your intuition becomes louder when external noise becomes quieter. So be sure to spend a few minutes every day without music, podcast, social media, television, or distractions. Simply listen. Next is to pay attention to your dreams. Your subconscious is one of your strongest channels of guidance. So be sure to keep a notebook beside your bed and write down recurring dreams, symbols, emotions, or themes. Patterns are going to reveal the message. Next is to trust the first feeling. Your initial intuitive response is more accurate than the story your mind creates afterwards. So always notice your first instinct before analyzing it. And ask yourself, what did I know before I started talking myself out of it? Next is to stop forcing answers. This placement rarely receives guidance through pressure. It receives guidance through allowing. So when you're stuck, spend less time chasing the answer and more time creating space for it to arrive. And finally, strengthen your relationship with the unseen. The more you trust your connection, the stronger it becomes. So, develop practices that help you connect inward, such as meditation, journaling, creative work, walks in nature, breath work, or any practice that helps you slow down enough to listen. Because your soul was never designed to receive guidance through constant striving. It receives guidance through trust. A great affirmation for you having Jupiter in your 12th house is I trust the wisdom that lives within me. The universe guides me through intuition, dreams, divine timing, and the quiet knowing that leads me exactly where I am meant to be. What part of this felt a little too accurate for comfort? Be sure to drop it in the comments. And this isn't just content, it's activation. So be sure to like this video, share it, hype it, and subscribe so you keep building on this momentum. And if you're tired of feeling like there's something bigger inside of you that never fully comes out, my new The Visibility Reset was created for exactly that wound. It's part audio guidance and part visibility activations designed to help you move through the fear, self doubt, avoidance, and emotional blocks that keep you hiding. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and get started. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching.